If I may start, just first of all, if I could ask you personally what you're making of the saber rattling from Trump towards Greenland.
The best case scenario, I think, is that this is a play on NATO as a whole, starting with Trump trying to pull out of Ukraine, making all the European NATO allies spend more of GDP, go to 5% of GDP, and when many didn't, at least in the short term, maybe he ramped up and said, well, let's do another chess move and talk about Greenland again. And it seems that NATO countries are actually scrambling to cover those American needs for security in the Arctic. And that's my best case scenario, that it's a play on NATO allies.
Do you buy Trump's argument that it's for U.S. security? Greenland, the U.S. takeover in Greenland is vital for U.S. security, or are you, like me, perhaps more interested in mineral rights and such like?
Does anyone really believe the security issue? The Chinese haven't been there for a decade. There is very low activity from the Russians. There isn't a security issue in the Arctic right now. There could be. It's a volatile world, and maybe we should all ramp up and be more aware of the Arctic. But right now, that doesn't seem to be the main issue, and not an issue of urgency. So yeah, I think many Danes, including myself, are thinking about the minerals, the oil.
How would you like the United Kingdom to respond at this moment in time? We've sent a small number of troops. Keir Starmer has something of a track record of trying to avoid direct criticism of Donald Trump in recent months. How do you expect us to respond?
Well, it seems the UK has been quite good at balancing the things with Donald Trump. The state visit with the King was a good move, seemed to cool things down all across the world for a minute or two. I think the UK should support Denmark strongly, as they have. Because if they don't, if we have a NATO collapse, the UK, who's been in front in Ukraine, are going to have some problems in Ukraine, and some more problems with the Russians if Ukraine fall. So I think the right position for the UK is to keep supporting Denmark and thus supporting NATO in Europe.
Is it possible that the US could win hearts and minds in what I would imagine would have to be a very short period of time in Greenland to actually win the argument politically?
No. The Greenlanders don't want to be Americans. They want to be themselves. And some Greenlanders, including the party you're talking about here, has used this opportunity to kind of stick it to Denmark. Because we have a murky history, Denmark and Greenland, and that needs to be solved. That needs to be worked out. Apologies probably has to be given from Denmark to Greenland and other support before giving them total independence in some years. But from these issues, from the family issues of Greenland and Denmark to the U.S. meddling, that's not going to happen. The Greenlanders are not on the way to Greenland, and they can't spin their way to it. They can't market their way to the Greenlanders' hearts. They're not going to sell their nation.
Pleasure talking to you. Take care. Let's bring in Professor Scott Lucas now from University College Dublin. Nice to see you, Scott. Was the takeover of Greenland on your Donald Trump bingo card for 2026?
Yeah, this one was, Matthew, because there's a general thing which is Donald Trump likes to take stuff. I mean, he liked to take stuff when he was a businessman, and he likes to try to take stuff as president. You know, we could talk Venezuelan oil, possibly oil from Iran, wherever he sees something that he could get legally or illegally, well, that's mine. But more specifically, yeah, it's not just Trump. It's been people around Trump when he got back in at the start of 2025 that immediately started talking about Greenland. Some of them started talking about the rare earth minerals. Some of the businessmen around Trump, some of the when they say America first, they mean America on top people like J.D. Vance, the vice president. We're casting eyes on this. So no, it doesn't surprise me. I think what really caught people off guard is that in the tumult of everything, including the kidnapping of Venezuelan President Nicolas Maduro that spoiled your holiday, that you had the White House coming in saying, well, if you don't give it to us, we take stuff and we're going to take it by force. And it was like, whoa, wait a minute. We are talking about not just Greenland, we are talking about a NATO ally in Denmark, and we're talking about NATO as a whole. And you could almost, usually the European response is they have these very measured language, and it's like, okay, let's talk about this, let's consider it, and there's all coordinating. But in the immediate responses from national leaders, including Keir Starmer, there was genuine agitation, which was, what the hell are you playing at? And it's like, and when they said that, instead of the White House saying, oh, well, okay, let's think about this, let's talk, they doubled down on this through the really, I've got many adjectives I could use, but the press secretary, Caroline Leavitt, standing up there and saying, yay, USA, USA, and isn't it great Greenland's going to be part of this? Is there an argument that the United States needs Greenland for security reasons? It's the same argument they've been trotting out for more than 100 years, or is it another minerals grab? Is there, heck? There's a former U.S. ambassador to Denmark, Carla Sands, who's making the media rounds, including with you folks on LBC. And it's like every 2 seconds, it's like, ding, ding, ding. That's not correct. Let's just take this apart very, very clearly, step by step. First of all, in terms of the security of Greenland, you are quite right that the U.S. made an approach to Denmark to purchase Greenland immediately after World War II at the start of the Cold War. But when Denmark and Greenland said no, what did the U.S. do? They signed a treaty with Denmark, an open-ended treaty for the defense of Greenland. That treaty led to 17 U.S. bases in Greenland during the Cold War. Now, the Americans reduced down to 1, but that was America's choice, not NATO's. And that airbase, as you pointed out in your excellent introduction, could be escalated at any point. You could put in more American personnel, you can put in more American air and land or naval forces. Secondly, it is not true that Denmark only sends a dog sled up to Greenland, which is the jibe that Trump and his minions run out. Greenland has just committed $2.3 billion as part of the Nordic system of defense, because there are issues with the way the Arctic cap is melting, and that means protecting the waterways. But Denmark and the Nordic countries have icebreakers, a few icebreakers. The U.S. only has one. And then there's one other myth, and I see the finger up, but one other myth real quick. Those Chinese and Russian ships, they're not there off the coast of Greenland. They just aren't.
I've got to be quick with you, Scott, here. How should the UK respond on this one?
Elbows up, friends.